She has died before. More than once. More times than any record captures, because the records of Freljord are incomplete in the way that all records are incomplete when the subject is older than the concept of records itself. She has died, and the world has registered her death as weather, as the specific quality of silence that descends over the tundra when the storms stop, as the particular cold that settles into the land when the force that had been animating it withdraws. And then she has been reborn, and the storms have returned, and a new age has begun. She carries none of it. Every life she has lived is gone when it ends. The memories, the alliances, the specific knowledge of the terrain accumulated across centuries of watching it change. What persists is only purpose, the protection of Freljord, continuous and absolute, independent of what she remembers about why. Her name is Anivia. She is as old as the frost. And the story of what it means to be a guardian who forgets everything except the guarding is the story of what pure purpose looks like when it is given a body. New here? Subscribe. Every week a League of Legends story told the way it deserves to be heard. Before the clans, before the first fires, before the specific organizational impulse that turns groups of people surviving together into something that can be called a tribe, Freljord was not empty. It was never empty. The ice had a guardian, not assigned by any power that mortals could name or address. Not the product of a tradition or a ritual or a deliberate act of creation by something that had decided Freljord needed protecting. More fundamental than any of that, a force that existed because the land itself had a nature, and that nature required expression, and the expression was her. The frost, the storms, the specific, uncompromising cold that Freljord produces in its most extreme forms, not as hostility, not as indifference, but as the fullest articulation of what the land was. She was the Ice Phoenix. Every death a season ending, every rebirth a season beginning. The cycle so consistent, so fundamental, that the people who eventually came to live in Freljord built their understanding of time itself around its rhythm. When the Ice Phoenix dies, an age closes. When she is reborn, a new one opens. She has no memory of any of them. This is the thing that most accounts of Anivia fail to sit with for long enough. The absolute completeness of the forgetting. Not the fading of old memories over time, not the selective erosion that age produces in mortal minds. Erasure. Each rebirth begins with nothing. No history, no context, no recollection of who she fought alongside or what she fought for or what the land looked like the last time she protected it. Only the shape of her purpose, which persists, because it is not stored in memory but written into what she is. She knows she is here to protect Freljord. She does not know what she has already done for it. Here is what she found when she was reborn into the current age, a Freljord that had changed in the interval of her absence, in ways that the land itself had not changed. The ice was the ice. The storms were the storms. But the people, the mortals who had built their lives around the rhythms she expressed, had developed in directions that the cold could not fully account for. A great tribe had risen. In the time since her last rebirth, however long that interval had been, measured in the way, Freljord measures time, which is in winters rather than years. The scattered groups of the region had consolidated into something unified. A single people, moving together, surviving together, their strength built on the specific force that comes from having decided that division was more dangerous than the vulnerability that comes with being joined. She watched this with the specific attention of something that has seen many configurations of many peoples across many ages and understands, at a level below reasoning, what different shapes of organization mean for the land they occupy. This one was strong. It had the quality of things that persist. She protected it gladly. Then the unity fractured. The great tribe split into three, and what had been unified became contested, and what had been the specific strength of a single people became the specific weakness of three peoples in the same territory, with incompatible claims on it. She watched the fracturing with the grief that a being whose entire purpose is preservation feels when the thing it has been preserving begins to unmake itself. She tried to hold it together. She could not. The ice can stop an army. It cannot stop a decision that has already been made in the minds of people who have decided to be enemies. This is the moment that changed what Anivia's current age would require from her. While she was occupied with the grief of Freljord's fracturing, circling the territories where the three daughter peoples of the great tribe were beginning to define themselves against each other, trying to find the edges where intervention was still possible, she felt something different. Not the cold of Freljord, which she knew in its every register and had no difficulty identifying. Something underneath the cold, inside it. A darkness operating at the level of the land's fundamental magic, the specific corruption that occurs when ancient power is twisted toward purposes it was not made for. She had felt this before, not in this life. She had no memory of this life's predecessors, but she felt it the way she felt everything about Freljord, not through the senses, but through the direct connection between her existence and the land's existence. The ice that she was could feel, the ice that Freljord was, and what she felt in that ice was wrong. Something ancient was waking in the depths. Not simply dangerous. Power was not dangerous simply by being power. Something that would, if it reached the surface, interact with the corruption that was already spreading through Freljord's fractured political landscape in ways that would accelerate everything wrong and eliminate everything that might still be salvageable. She understood this not through analysis, but through the same instinct that told her, across every lifetime she had lived without remembering, what her purpose was. She could not remain a passive guardian while this grew. The alliance with Ash formed because it needed to form. Ash, the Frost Archer, the woman who had decided that Freljord's fracturing could be reversed through the specific combination of military capability and genuine conviction that had driven most of the great unifications in history, was working toward the same thing Anivia was. Working toward, from a different direction and with different tools. Ash believed that a united Freljord was strong enough to face whatever was coming. Anivia believed that whatever was coming required Freljord to be united to survive it. The goals were the same, the approaches were complementary. Anivia extended her support to the Frost Archer without reservation, not because she had evaluated the alliance and found it strategically optimal, which was the kind of reasoning that belonged to beings with memories and the ability to plan across time. Because the shape of the situation was clear. Here was a leader trying to do what Freljord needed, and a guardian whose entire existence was organized around what Freljord needed. The connection was not complicated. What was complicated was what Anivia carried underneath all of this. The knowledge, not memory, because memory required continuity she did not have, but the specific, deep knowing that persisted across her rebirths, that what was growing in the depths of the land was not something she could simply intercept and contain. It was something she would have to destroy. And she knew, with the same certainty with which she knew everything fundamental about herself, what destroying it would cost. Her. The price of ending what was rising was her. Her death. Not the death that ended ages and produced rebirths. She had done that countless times, without fear, without resistance. This was different. This was a death that might not produce a rebirth, that might close the cycle entirely. That might mean Anivia as she currently existed in this current age was the last iteration rather than one of an infinite series. She does not know if that is true. She only knows that she has felt it, the weight of the approaching choice, the specific quality of a fate that is moving toward her the way the seasons move toward each other. Inevitable, not avoidable, only preparable for. This is not despair. A being who has died more times than any record counts and been reborn into a world that remembered nothing of her previous iteration has a relationship with endings that is different from what mortals experience. She does not hold her current life as something that must be preserved at the cost of everything else. She holds it as what it has always been, the most recent expression of something ongoing, the current instantiation of a purpose that does not depend on her personal continuity to remain real. If this age is the last, if the thing growing in the depths requires a sacrifice that closes the cycle, rather than continuing it, she would not have chosen differently. She would not choose differently now. The alternative is Freljord without a guardian during the darkest moment it has faced in living memory, and living memory does not encompass what she knows about how dark that moment is going to be. She has been here for every age that Freljord has survived. She intends to be here for this one. She continues protecting Freljord. She supports Ash's efforts to unify the clans, because a unified Freljord will be stronger when the darkness rises than a fractured one. She watches the ice for the signs she knows will come, and she waits for the moment when what she has always known she would eventually be required to do becomes the thing she is required to do now. If this story reached you, subscribe. Every week, the full lore of a League of Legends champion, told the way it deserves to be heard.